Hello and welcome to UZREPORT World News. I'm Barno Nazarzoda. The number of infection cases in the past 24 hours has increased by 48 in Uzbekistan on Thursday. This is almost twice more than a day before. Here is the situation in the region. According to the Health Ministry, the number of patients with COVID-19 has reached 582 in Uzbekistan. 3 people have died and 30 recovered. Kazakhstan, according to data as of Thursday, has 764 cases. The death toll has reached 7 and 54 recoveries. Afghanistan has registered 444 cases, 14 deaths and 29 recoveries. Kyrgyzstan so far has registered 280 cases and 4 deaths. 35 patients have recovered. The situation in Tajikistan and Turkmenistan is still the same. President of Uzbekistan Shavkat Mirziyoyev chaired a video conference to assess the effectiveness of local efforts to counter the coronavirus pandemic. The agenda also included food security, employment and income of the population.
The head of state said that the vast majority of citizens have assessed the situation clearly and they are strictly following the recommendations of doctors and the requirements of quarantine. Online lessons for students is yet another thing that can be evaluated as a positive factor. The system of uninterrupted supply of food and medical products has been effectively established. Agricultural work is in full swing in the regions. Production at strategic industrial enterprises and important construction sites is organized in strict accordance with the rules of quarantine. In short, life in Uzbekistan continues consistently. Most importantly, the selfless service of many thousands of our compatriots, especially doctors, their dedication to their work, as well as the measures taken promptly, yield positive results, the president said. Unfortunately, on April 7, a 40-year-old patient died, who, despite unprecedented explanatory work, was treated at home and was hospitalized in a serious condition. Expressing his condolences to the family of the deceased, the head of state again urged everyone to be careful. If you feel symptoms of the disease, immediately contact your doctor. I repeat, first of all, our own safety. The safety of our family and loved ones depends on us. These temporary difficulties and problems will be overcome. Our conscientious, pious and persistent people will have many more good days. We will celebrate many more holidays together and we will definitely achieve our goals, President Shavkat Mirziyoyev said. The coronavirus pandemic has clearly demonstrated the inadequacy of food security policies and measures in many countries around the world. Mirziyoyev noted that Uzbekistan has large reserves and opportunities to fully meet domestic demand for food, increase the income and welfare of the population. To achieve this, it is necessary to continue planting spring crops in compliance with quarantine measures. Otherwise, and this is quite natural, it will be difficult to maintain stable prices in the domestic market.
The Embassy of Uzbekistan in the United States initiated a video conference with the Chief of the Medical Department of the Mississippi National Guard, Jim Craig, to exchange experience in the fight against the global COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. The specialist was introduced with the measures to combat the spread of the virus in Uzbekistan. He, in turn, expressed his expert opinion and provided some advice. Dr. Craig praised Uzbekistan's effective measures to combat the spread of the virus, as evidenced by the relatively low incidence rate. Your government was able to mobilize in time and significantly reduce the possible negative consequences of the outbreak, the expert said. According to the representative of the state of Mississippi, the most effective method of combating COVID-19 is to isolate people infected with the virus and then treat them. Due to the lack of vaccine and medication for the disease, doctors in Mississippi can currently only treat symptoms of coronavirus: dry cough, fever and headache. The state government, like many other countries across the globe, has also introduced restrictive quarantine measures for its citizens. In Mississippi, as throughout the United States, there is a shortage of test system for detecting the virus and medical protective equipment, masks, gloves and sanitary units. To remedy this situation, the state authorities involved the private sector in the production of primary essential medical products. Thus, by the end of April, medical institutions in 82 districts of the state will be provided with everything necessary. The Mississippi state government is already converting academic universities into hospitals and is increasing the number of intensive care units. According to the doctor, about 35,000 medical staff are already involved, of which about 8,000 people are qualified doctors. But even these forces are not enough, so it was decided to mobilize retired and former medical workers. Many doctors in Mississippi have already switched to remote patient consultation, which reduces the risk of transmission between the doctor and the patient, as well as the time to provide necessary medical care. The American expert also made a somewhat sad forecast according to which this is the only first wave of the crisis, which may last up to 3 months. The whole fight may last until the very end of 2020. Starting the 2020-21 academic year, 47 medical colleges across Uzbekistan will be reorganized into technical schools of public health. Graduates of these schools will have the right to continue their studies in the second year of medical higher educational institutions. A corresponding decision was adopted by President Shavkat Mirziyoyev. According to the document, the share of non-core subjects in the curricula of bachelor's degree, master's degree and clinical residency programs will be reduced by twice. The Irish company Ookla has published the data of the service speed test net according to the monthly global index rating, which estimates the speed of mobile and wired internet in the world following March 2020 results. Uzbekistan, according to the rating, has once again showed a strong growth in fixed internet speed, adding 7 positions up at once. The speed of mobile internet at the same time added only 1 point. In the overall ranking, the country rose to 95th place out of 176 countries. A year ago, Uzbekistan was ranked 131st. Let's compare these figures in terms of Central Asian states. Kazakhstan is placed 65th in the rating. Kyrgyzstan is 83rd, Tajikistan is 101st, Afghanistan is 163rd. The worst internet speed in the world, according to the rating, is in Turkmenistan. The central bank has banned the implementation of penalties on overdue loan payments for those who have been negatively impacted by the imposed quarantine regime. Another question on everyone's minds is, will banks be penalized for not instating supportive measures or keeping open communication with customers? The answer in our next report.
Some banks have not yet taken measures to support their clients whose activities were affected by the coronavirus pandemic. Addressing the heads of commercial banks, the central bank encouraged them to hold regular briefings on central television channels in order to explain how to interact with clients during the quarantine period.
Мы считаем, что в настоящее время в условиях карантина
Under the current conditions of quarantine, commercial banks must do their best to support their clients. Solution of problems must be as effective as possible. Now is not the time to talk about punishments or fines. We need to find solutions to pressing issues.
April 9 is a significant date for the Uzbek people, as the great commander Amir Timur was born on this date. Timur ruled the state for 35 years. Over the years, he undertook many military campaigns, won in major battles, conquered many countries, and created a huge empire. The captured wealth was then used for the improvement of the cities and villages destroyed as a result of military campaigns. More about the life of a military leader in our next report. The great general was born in Transoxiana near the city of Kesh, modern Shahrizabs, some 80 kilometers south of famous Samarkand. Amir Timur's motto, strength in justice, has become an ethical and moral criterion familiar to everyone across the country. In the second half of the 14th century, Transoxiana became the center of trade, economy and culture in the Near and Middle East. With wise advices of great spiritual mentors, Timur achieved great success in creating a centralized state. Amir Timur also left a mark in history as a talented diplomat who sought to develop good relations between states, as well as to establish trade and economic relations. He even managed to strengthen ties between Europe and Asia. In particular, Sahib Kiran established relations with various countries of the world, including China, India, France, England, Spain, Italy, Egypt, as well as the Ottoman Empire and many other countries. Today, the interest in the activities of Amir Timur and the Timurid age continues to grow. Scientists conduct scientific research as dozens of books are published, and every year the number of works in European and Eastern languages dedicated to the great Sahib Kiran increases. It's been 2 days since the Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, has declared a 1-month state of emergency in response to the increasing number of coronavirus infections in big cities, though people cannot legally be forced to stay at home or businesses be forced to close. Prime Minister urged people to exercise social distancing and avoid unnecessary trips. In televised conference, he told that basic economic activity will continue in Tokyo, Kanagawa, Saitama, Chiba, Osaka, Hyogo and Fukuoka, the 7 affected prefectures. Public transport and supermarkets will remain open. Abe asked people to reduce their contact with others by 70–80%, saying successful social distancing could see infections peak in 2 weeks. Japan's government does not have the legal authority to enforce a total lockdown with fines and other penalties. Instead, officials are hoping that jishuku, or so-called self-restraint, and threats to name and shame businesses that refuse to close will ensure compliance. This is not a lockdown of the kind that have happened overseas. Public transport will run as usual and no roads will be closed. There is no need for that. This is the view of the experts, Abe said. And we've just received a short video from our friend Satoshi Tsuji describing the situation in Tokyo when he was about to fly to Osaka at that moment on business. Hello, Satoshi-san.
Hello, Barno-san. Hello, Tashkent. My name is Satoshi Tsuji. I'm taking this video from Tokyo, Japan. As you may know, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe of Japan announced that the state of emergency in Japan. The areas are limited to the 7 big cities: Tokyo, Osaka, Chiba, Kanagawa, Saitama, Hyogo, and Fukuoka. But people are still working, do shopping. Why? Reason is that this emergency announcement is not legally enforced lockout, but just strong request to residents of Japan. So almost no penalty on them if they break these requests. However, most Japanese citizens are collaborating with government requests and try not to go out as much as possible.
British Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab stands for Prime Minister Boris Johnson on Thursday as the government discusses how it should deal with a review on coronavirus lockdown measures. Johnson spent his third night in intensive care with COVID-19 complications on Wednesday. He was admitted to hospital on Sunday, and Downing Street says his condition is improving. His government is preparing to discuss how to review its most stringent shutdown in the peacetime history. Health Secretary Matt Hancock went back to work last week after revealing he had also tested positive for COVID-19 on the same day as Johnson. Total UK hospital deaths from COVID-19 rose to 7,097 on Thursday, with total infection cases reaching 60,733.
We have had a record number of deaths. I mean, I went through 9/11. I thought in my lifetime I wouldn't have to see anything like that again. Nothing that bad, nothing that tragic.
Those somber words from New York Governor Andrew Cuomo come as the state on Wednesday reported the most coronavirus cases in the world. New York State has reported over 149,000 cases, according to a Reuters tally. To put that number in perspective, that's 3,000 more than in all of Spain.
I'm going to direct all flags to be flown at half-mast in honor of those who we have lost.
Despite reporting the state's highest single-day death toll of 779, Cuomo said social distancing efforts are working to get the outbreak under control.
If anything, we double down now on our diligence.
The governor also said it was likely that deaths in New York were being undercounted as people died in their homes. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio estimated an undercount in the death toll of 100 to 200 people per day who are dying at home.
The home deaths are, again, a painful, awful reality for those families.
As a way of helping people most vulnerable to the disease, 94% of the U.S. population has been ordered to stay at home. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the top U.S. health expert, said social distancing and other measures must continue, but there are signs they are working. And U.S. health officials are planning for the country to return to normal activities, cautiously.
I fully expect, though I'm humble enough to know that I can't accurately predict, that by the time we get to the fall, that we will have this under control enough that it certainly will not be the way it is now.
No one has done this kind of mitigation before.
Coordinator of the White House Coronavirus Task Force, Deborah Birx, added that Americans must stay vigilant, warning that if people jump the gun on social interactions, the country could see a severe second wave of infections.
I am announcing the suspension of my campaign.
Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders ended his bid for the White House on Wednesday.
It has been a very difficult and painful decision.
A one-time frontrunner who once again came up short against a moderate opponent in the race for the Democratic nomination, Sanders delivered the news to his supporters in a live-streamed speech from Vermont, where he has been staying at home in Burlington.
I know that there may be some in our movement who disagree with this decision, who would like us to fight on to the last ballot cast at the Democratic Convention. I understand that position. But as I see the crisis gripping the nation, exacerbated by a president unwilling or unable to provide any kind of credible leadership, and the work that needs to be done to protect people in this most desperate hour, I cannot, in good conscience, continue to mount a campaign that cannot win and which would interfere with the important work required of all of us in this difficult hour.
And I hope all of you are staying safe.
The announcement makes former Vice President Joe Biden the presumptive nominee to face President Donald Trump in November.
I congratulate Joe Biden, a very decent man.
And while Sanders promised to work with the former vice president to defeat Trump, the Progressive Democratic Socialist said his name will remain on the ballot in upcoming nominating contests to nudge Biden's policy positions more to the left.
While Vice President Biden will be the nominee, we must continue working to assemble as many delegates as possible at the Democratic Convention, where we will be able to exert significant influence over the party platform and other functions. Then together, standing united, we will go forward to defeat Donald Trump, the most dangerous president in modern American history.
Trump, who has courted Sanders' supporters and has said the senator was treated unfairly by the Democratic Party, reacted quickly on Twitter, saying, quote, "This ended just like the Democrats and the DNC wanted. Same as the crooked Hillary fiasco. The Bernie people should come to the Republican Party. Trade." Biden also responded on Twitter, calling Sanders a good man and a great leader, and in a statement reached out to supporters of Sanders and promised his ideas would be incorporated into his White House run.
It was not long ago that people considered these ideas radical and fringe.
Many policy positions held by Sanders have become part of the mainstream Democratic Party debate, and on Wednesday he pushed his progressive agenda and brought attention to his Medicare for All proposal.
This current horrific crisis that we are now in has exposed for all to see how absurd our current employer-based health insurance system is. Please stay in this fight with me. Let us go forward together. The struggle continues. Thank you all very much.
Hopes the global pandemic is nearing a peak gave investors a boost on Thursday. European stock markets gained for a fourth straight day. Investors were betting on governments rolling out further stimulus, with focus shifting to a meeting of EU finance ministers to discuss a rescue package. The Pan-European Stock 600 index was up 1.7% in early trade. Battered travel and leisure stocks, autos and miners led to the early gains. The benchmark index has rebounded more than 5% this week, but is still about 24% below its record high. Asian shares also rose. MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan was up nearly 1%. Japan's Nikkei bucked the trend and closed flat as infections in the country rose. In the US, the New York governor said the state's efforts at social distancing were working in getting the virus under control. But the number of US jobless claims, the most timely data on economic health, likely totaled 15 million in the last 3 weeks. And economists expect US job losses of up to 20 million in April. Oil and gas stocks bounced nearly 2% ahead of a meeting of the world's largest oil producers to discuss production cuts, with Royal Dutch Shell gaining more than 3%.
Famous for its simmering snake soup, an iconic Hong Kong restaurant will soon be going dark after more than 3 decades in business. Xie Wangyi has been praised by the Michelin Guide. Restaurant manager Lo Chong-he has worked here for over 20 years. He says business has nosedived since the Lunar New Year, when social distancing measures in the city began to take hold.
Before the Lunar New Year in January, you could say we were doing fine. Our business was normal. But after the Lunar New Year, our business plunged over 70%.
Xie Wangyi is one of many businesses that have struggled with the double blow of months of anti-government protests, followed by the current period of indefinite uncertainty. And after it announced its upcoming closure in mid-March, local customers flocked to get one last taste.
There will be one less place we can eat this delicacy, and that's a real pity. Another thing is that even a decades-old restaurant like this one can't continue business. You can tell how bad business must be for small-scale and newly opened restaurants.
But even the sudden last surge of customers has been hamstrung by further social distancing measures. Lowe's says they can only serve half the normal amount of customers after the Hong Kong government required restaurants to keep tables at least 1.5 meters apart. But still, he hopes that one day the restaurant might reopen and restore its former glory.
The shop is part of my everyday life. I've spent more than 2 decades here. Apart from my home, this is the place I'm most attached to.
Okay, everybody, let's take it from the top.
Disney was late to the video streaming game, but it's making up for lost time.
Something's happening.
The company says subscribers have passed the 50 million mark just 5 months after launch. No fewer than 8 million of those are in India, where the Disney Plus service rolled out only last week. Analysts say viewers have been won over by strong content. Besides the famous animated movies, Disney also owns franchises including Star Wars and the Marvel Comics movies. For now, it's still a long way behind rival Netflix though. It has nearly 167 million paid subscribers in over 190 countries. But it will be watching its new competitor very carefully. Disney Plus is steadily spreading worldwide.
It's like a dream. Oh, wonderful.
It rolled out to 8 European countries, including the UK, France and Germany over the past 2 weeks. And the timing could hardly be better. With seemingly the whole world stuck at home, demand for video streaming has never been higher.
And this was our last report. Thanks for watching and goodbye.